Ever since the dawn of humankind, we've sought the origins of our life and its purpose. Some have chosen to look to science, religion, or philosophy for answers. Many have turned to the great masters such as Lao Tzu, the Buddha, and Jesus Christ for spiritual illumination. Still others have sought truth through their own direct experience. All of us are searching, knowingly or unknowingly, for enlightenment, truth, and harmony in our lives. This program, hosted by Dr. Gregory Penn, will help you aspire to a more fulfilling and rewarding life.
Welcome back to Aspire Unplugged. We're going to look today in this segment at what an authentic spiritual practice is all about. Now, authentic, not one invented by guys who are trying to make a buck off of an app. So we're going to talk about what a real one is. Okay.
Right on.
Right on? Right on.
Okay, so some of these questions are coming from students and that we've collected over the years.
Okay.
So what makes a good spiritual practice?
It begins with you have to be what Lao Tzu said in the Tao. I have to be sick of my sickness. And if I'm not, then I can't have a practice. Then I can have a philosophy. I can have religion. I can have theory, but I can't have an authentic practice because there has to be that pull, that drive inside to want to know what's beyond the way I live and what I am as like a Gregory. I have to look at that and go, what is he? What's his makeup? And everybody tries to change their makeup. They try to change their human to fit a philosophy. That's not being in a practice at all. But that's what people do. And with that being said, you can get a lot of people involved and get them all emotional. And it has... The real practice has to do with, first of all, I'm sick of my own sickness. I can't live with myself the way I am one more minute. And number two, am I interested in love? Do you remember when we were in Santa Barbara? We were filming down at the harbor, and I said, you have to want love more than wanting what you think is love.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how that we stopped,
yeah.
Everybody going, oh, are you sure you want to say that?
Huh.
Yeah. And I got a lot of mail on that one, like, I don't understand what that means. To pursue that statement is an authentic spiritual practice. That easy.
Wow. Okay, so another way to maybe ask a question, what's to be gained?
The question is, what am I willing to lose? The gain. All right. I know. This is a question that Westerners would ask. That there is no real gain. It's about transformation. It's the question is, what am I willing to give up for what I don't know I'm going to get? Yeah, the mind always wants to go and think, well, I'm doing this for a reason, for a purpose. That's not an authentic spiritual practice at all. Remember Deepak Chopra? Mm-hmm. Remember the first book he wrote about you could look young and be young and live forever? Sat next to him on an airplane a couple of years ago. He's gotten very old.
Uh-huh.
That's what Americans like. They like the idea I'm going to be sexier and have more money and all of that, or I'm going to be happier and, or get well, get my body well.
Yeah. Well, certainly a lot of the TV ministries, we're going to talk about this in another episode.
Okay.
But, they all kind of, what will make us appealing to people to come hear us talk?
Unity made all of its money back in Missouri off the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and probably even into the 60s, where they'd have a prayer room. Mm-hmm. And you call them and go, I've got a hangnail, I need help. And then they would take, and put it in the prayer room and type a letter and say, we're praying for you. Yeah. And then you send them money.
Right.
That's it's a con job.
Well, I really
I know some of the people that worked in that prayer, and I'm telling you, I know.
They were not helping anybody's souls.
No, they weren't. So, the religion is the game.
Right.
in the West. And in the East, it's an obsession. But in certain corners of the world, it's an awakening. It's a process of awakening, and it's very beautiful. And it can become very beautiful, but you've got to want it, as Jesus said, with all of your heart, your soul, your strength. You got to want it. And people don't. They don't. They really don't.
Would you say that as soon as it becomes a religion, whatever the spirituality is, it's over, because then it's a shell game?
That's right. It's a shell game. All of it is. And, you know, nobody wants to talk about this. They don't want, PTL Club, remember that whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
And what was his name? I forget. The one that took over the PTL Club, Jerry...
Falwell?
Falwell, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gospel hour, you know. That,
That's right.
Yeah. You know, and all he wanted to do is destroy. It was a war.
Yeah.
It was a war between the two of them.
Right.
And, you know, sex got involved in it, and all drugs, and wherever there's money, I find out, much to my chagrin, lots of money, there's lots of drugs.
Well, look at the Crystal Cathedral up the
Yeah.
coast, you know? I mean...
Who ever thought that would end?
Yeah.
Who ever thought that Schuller would end?
Yeah.
His son couldn't do it. So the whole thing collapsed.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I've always loved that you used to say that Aspire was the alternative to conventional
Yes.
religion, and that was absolutely true.
Yeah.
And you really embraced all different philosophies.
Yes, I did.
And-
Unity hated me for that. My colleagues hated me. They wouldn't let me be a part of their annual conferences and things. I was shunned by Unity. I couldn't do it.
And yet you plowed ahead
I
regardless.
Boy, I don't care.
It's good.
That wasn't my point. My point was to help people,
Yeah.
not to be a
And
part
that
of
was
it.
part of your spiritual practice.
That's right. It was part of my journey.
All right. So let me ask you about what's the significance of a spiritual name? I know...
You mean like my
Like
sannyasa name?
your name is Siraj.
Right, Chaitanya Siraj.
And what is it, like a merit badge when you reach a level? Is it like the green belt now?
No.
Where does Siraj begin? Where does Gregory
End.
begin and end?
Yeah. Siraj is the part I can take with me through death, and the Gregory is the cause of that death. And there's the human part of Gregory that is crazier than a hoot owl and loves to have fun and joke around and play, and has his opinions, doesn't like Trump, things like that. I have my political view, but I don't take it too seriously. Siraj, on the other hand, that Bhagwan gave me in sannyas, it means lamp of consciousness. And I took that very seriously when it was given to me. It is my true nature. And everybody has a true nature like that. They just don't give it a name. I give my students sannyas when it's appropriate for them. And when it is, I look inside and I give them a name that they can relate to. So instead of thinking always about I and me and mine, they can drop all of that, and what's left but this lamp of, in my case, lamp of consciousness.
Okay.
And it's a teacher's name, obviously.
Right.
And that's the one I live by. I don't live by the memories of Ed and Jean or Greg as a little boy. I don't have those.
I like it. I like what you're saying, because you're right. It takes away all of those preconceived notions about who I am.
And my prejudices.
Yes.
Yeah, which are genetic in nature. And so you start looking at your life from the point of view of that which is versus that which ain't.
Very cool.
Yeah, real simple stuff.
All right. Let's take a look at a clip.
Okay.
This is from Easy for You to Say.
Oh, I love that.
And the question that the student asks here is, if I let go of all the things that you speak of, what is left for me? Let's take a look.
Would I look at my life and say the value of my life was in the things I did, the things I said, the things I accomplished, the people I met, the books I read? That'll all be destroyed with death. So what's left? The measure of a person's life isn't where they went or what they did, but how much they felt. Did they feel anything in their life? Could I give? Could I give without a reason? Could I give without the idea of architecting some kind of return? Could I give out of compassion and love? Could I forgive? Could I feel the moment and the significance of each and every moment of my life? Could I let go of things? Could I let go of my fears? Could I let go of my worries? Could I let go of my pride? Those are the measures of a person's life. I don't think we really live until we feel. The real religion of life has nothing at all to do with the things that we read about, the intellectual precepts, the concepts, the beliefs. Those are the things that keep us locked in here. Life is viewed from in here, from in the heart. The person who is very wise is the person who's like a little child who is innocent enough within themselves not to be thinking about what's going on around them, but they feel life from within themselves. They have the courage to follow those feelings, and that's what life is all about. If you've had enough books, if you've had enough speeches, if you've had enough classes, if you've had enough tapes, and you're ready for the true experience, then please remember, all a teacher such as myself or anyone who cares about you can do is lead you to the heart. But you have to be willing to go through it yourself.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And you express those ideas just on the fly, on the beach.
So the question is, what is left? Your love is left. It's the only thing worth living for. And the way I am as Greg, that wouldn't be possible. So am I willing to give up everything for the direct experience of love? And we think love happens because of emotion and passion, and we're obsessed with both of those. And because of that, you can love somebody today and hate them tomorrow. I will never forget the first couple I ever married, in Santa Barbara when I was working there, and only to find out 2 years later they had divorced. And I was like so stupid, I thought, how can you do, but that's the way emotions are. I like you today, I hate you tomorrow. So what you're left with is love, pure love. A love that is not attached to a body, to a circumstance. We live our life as circumstance and conditions. We live, our whole existence is about dealing with what we've done in the past and all of the circumstances and the conditions we've made for ourselves. We literally live opposed to life and then have to deal with the ramifications of that consequence. And everybody wants to live without consequence, especially now in our world today with millennials. And they just want to, whatever I want to do, I should be able to do. They're YOLOs. You only live once. And they really believe that. I have students that come kind of here and there, and they believe that too.
Well, it's like, why shouldn't I seek pleasure? I mean, isn't that why we're here?
Yeah, to have fun.
Have pleasure.
Yeah. Have sex till we screw our brains out, and that's the end of that. Yeah, it is true. And so when, monkey see, monkey do. So, in your family, we talked about the family, when we see people in our families doing this and our friends and our neighbors, we think, well, it's normal. We just make it up in our mind. We do not realize there is a consequence for everything we've done. When you used to stand behind the camera, and I'd see that cute little face of yours go down there, and I always thought what a sweet thing that was, and that the red light would go on, and your hand would go like that, or Mambo's hand would go like that, or Marcy, I knew I was going to have to live with every word I ever said on that program. In my old age. And as I sit here and watch this, I'm amazed that I said it. I'm amazed that I got away with it. I'm amazed that I didn't have more tomatoes thrown at me, for saying that kind of thing that you just saw there. But I have no regret. I am deeply, deeply moved that I had the privilege of doing that in a lifetime. I will never be a rich man, but I will always be very wealthy. Because that was worth my whole life. And as you know, at the end, I had to wear a bulletproof vest in public, when I was teaching.
Yeah.
Because I had so many death threats.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk more about that in another episode. But Let's move on now to another question students had. You say my mind made a thought of me. Who then is listening and watching? I'm confused. So here's a clip from Three Treasures of the Tao.
Ooh.
What is your heart? How do you understand it? Listen to Lhasa. He says, my words are easy to understand and to perform, yet no one under heaven knows them nor practices them. Why? Because things that are simple, things that are truly beautiful are simple. And we are always looking for that which gives us the upper hand, that makes us believe that we are more than what we think of ourselves as being. The mind has made a thought of you. Imagine that. Your mind has actually made a thought of you. And your whole life has been about either proving that thought or trying to make that thought not so real. And that's why the mind is a barrier and not a bridge. We don't look at our mind for what it truly is. We don't develop no mind. We don't develop the emptiness of mind. The psychology of a person who is in an authentic practice, learning to understand the nature of the Tao, is not captivated by their questions and not looking for answers. They are just simply listening. They are simply watching. They are simply living. And everything comes together in a moment for them. They are disciplined. They are not living for the things that make their bodies comfortable, but for those things they can take with them through death. And I say this over and over and over to you. The most valuable things in life are only the things that you can take with you through death.
Wow. Okay. So what are you confused about? I think that's pretty... See, everybody thinks that they are who their thoughts tell them they are. You know, I'm Greg. Who told me I was Greg? Well, my mother and father impressed me with the idea of their impression of me based on their thought, and then my friends, my cousins, your family. And then you come to a conclusion through thought. You never want to live for conclusions, ever. Because the mind can come to conclusions that are untrue. Most of the time, 99.9 they're untrue. Mm-hmm. So then you come to a false conclusion, and then you're forced to live out that opinion, that conclusion.
By gosh darn it.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody wants their freedom, but they don't want freedom from here. Mm-hmm. Here's where the problem is, up here. Mm-hmm. So my thoughts tell me who I am, what I should be, what I wasn't, da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. So now you're confused about who's listening? Well, nobody's listening in Greg. Greg can't listen to himself. He just blah, 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 blahs it out, But here's the secret, and I'll give it to you. And I thought I gave it there, but maybe I didn't. The true, authentic of us is not a you or a me. And it's around you. It's not in your body. Everybody thinks, oh, it's in here. No, it's not. It's around you. And every so often, a defense mechanism will drop. A sense of fear will drop just for a brief moment. And bingo, there it is.
I felt it before, as you know.
Yes, I saw you get it.
Uh-huh. And that's not the only time. So I know what you speak of from that aspect of it, but to immerse yourself and be in that space as you live your life daily.
Great sacrifice.
That's tricky.
Only if you want your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Jesus said, no man can serve two masters. He'll hate the one and love the other. And he's right. No man can serve two masters. And I think what we want is we want it all. Mm-hmm. We don't believe that love could be any more powerful or greater than our biological experience of life. That's all we think about. Well, nothing can beat sex. I had multiple orgasms, or we had a great time last night. We were drunk on our butts. We didn't even know who we were. We went to Disneyland. We had a wonderful time. We went on 2 rides and cost us $900, but we still went and had a good time. Anything that tantalates or stimulates the emotions, we think, we're devoted to this. We're obsessed with this. It's what's around it that's so interesting. And we never explore that. And every so often, like when you took Shakti in India and I watched you sweating, and that was really an amazing moment for all of us in that room from that wonderful lady. She was awesome.
Drishti.
Yeah, she was an enlightened, beautiful woman. And, the thing about it is there were people on the crew at that time, they didn't feel it. I wonder why. It was right there.
Oh,
it was right there.
You're right. And when it's happening,
yeah.
I mean, like I've been to one of your retreats, obviously, several times to come and videotape.
Film.
And I remember, walking into the room and the energy was so
different.
And it was just, it sucks you in and absorbs, and you feel that. It's a magical thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but I want you to imagine this. I mean, I know I sound like a Jesus freak, but I'm not. It's just the example that most Westerners will understand. How could Pontius Pilate stand there and look at this man and not get it? I always wanted, and the crowd wanted Barabbas. He was a criminal and a thief, and he killed people, and they wanted to save him and see. Let's see what happens with this Jesus guy who thinks he's the King of the Jews, the Son of God. And he never said that. And how is it that Pontius Pilate could look at that man and not get it? Even his own disciples didn't get it. Even his own disciples.
But they must have felt it. They must have felt it on some
level. They were hoping
right?
for liberation from Rome. They were all politically oriented.
Okay.
All of them. Jesus had an affinity for John, and I believe he may have had it. But I think, the one that was the most interesting of all of that was Mary Magdalene. I do not, personally, I don't care if she was a prostitute. I don't think she was. But if you've ever read the book of Mary Magdalene from the Gnostic Gospels, she was every bit as enlightened as Jesus, every bit. And I just had the deepest, said so many wonderful things. The reason you get sick and die is because you love what misleads you. You love what misleads you. Mary Magdalene. And I'm sure she was an awakened being.
Those are words that, ought to be like on the wall that you have to contemplate every day.
Who would do it? There's too many video games to be playing and watching football and going to the bar and having, margaritas and let's snort some coke or some marijuana. Now everybody's done marijuana. You're driving down the road and you're watching people weaving around and driving, and I was with one of my students. I said, what's going on here? They're on marijuana.
They're driving slow.
Well, they were around, but they're driving erratically. And I never thought of that. That never dawned on me.
Well, let me ask you this then. Obviously, back when you were younger and I was younger, there was a lot more spirituality avenues to follow or to check out.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
They've all sort of fallen away.
Right.
There's not much left.
There's nothing
in
left.
society. I mean, there were so many people that had practices back then. And now, so if somebody wants to pursue a spiritual path, practice, what's the simplest thing that they can do? Because it's not, they have to really make an effort to go out and find it.
They're going to have to make an effort to find a teacher. And you can't do it without one, and nobody wants to do that. And they think, well, if you donate to a teacher, it's just a gizmo to make money for the teacher. And we have seen all these yoga instructors, be corrupt and do all sorts of, terrible things with money and such. So
it breeds cynicism and
Flakeville.
Hard to find a real master.
Oh, well, it's hard to find an authentic teacher.
Yeah.
And there aren't any real masters on the earth anymore right now. We're in the Kali Yuga, and that's a stage that's going to last for 500 years, and it's slim pickings. I don't particularly, I'm not crazy about the Dalai Lama, and everybody puts it on him, and I think he's he said some pretty stupid things.
Okay, so last question.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody? How do you say to somebody that wants to have a practice, what's the first thing that they should try to do? Watch Aspire on YouTube?
Well, that certainly wouldn't hurt. You know, that's what it was meant to be, was the stimulus for that. But it isn't some marketing thing that I've got going on. So, you have to understand that if I never meet you, I'm fine. If I meet you, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. You know, they're going to have to find a teacher. Somebody's going to put their feet to the fire. Mm-hmm. And my students will tell you that's what I do. I put their feet to the fire. Mm-hmm. And I'm not concerned about numbers of people. I'd rather have less than more. So you've got to follow your heart. Everybody has a rendezvous with the highest part of themselves, and a teacher is the highest part of you. Mm-hmm. And if you're true to yourself, you're true to that self, that part of you that is the higher part, it will happen. You will find your teacher. Okay. But you will also find, if it's authentic, the teacher's going to ask you to do things you're not going to like doing.
Fair enough. All right. Next episode, we're going to talk about what it is to have a ministry and the changes that have taken place for you over that span of time.
Okay. We'll talk about, okay, fine.
All right. See you next time.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye.